Kat, did you have a question, love? Do you want to unmute? And then I know Laylee was going to jump on.
Hello. Thank you, Luther, for all this great info.
Yes.
Yeah, this is great. You've touched on a lot of things that I did have questions on. But one thing I do want to say that I'm super interested in the fascia tissue, and I'm learning a lot more about it through you. Something through stretching. I mean, this technique is actually teaching me a little bit. So now my curiosity, the light bulbs are going off on here. Um, and also another thing that I've been really interested in is the pelvic floor. And you kind of like, with hypertonic and also stress incontinence. So you kind of hit that a little bit about hitting the bladder, and the fascial. So can you add anything else to that? Because on both ends, on the hypertonic and also stress
Okay.
incontinence.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so the lateral hamstrings are an important muscle group to stretch for the bladder. And that is one of the tightest muscle groups in everyone around the globe. That's the muscle group that has to really extend your pelvis to be in an upright position. And so most people need that muscle group developed just because we're still learning how to stand up. And also, we're sitting for long periods of time. Any kind of isometric position, whether now they do standing desks, which is like, okay, we're not sitting, but that's still just one position. Or, so any static positions are going to put stress on that muscle group. And so that one needs to get stretched. And as that becomes more flexible, I've seen a lot of people who've had incontinence or any problems with the bladder start to not have those issues as much. And so I would definitely recommend that. But typically, to get to that muscle group, there's going to be some hip girdle, more adduction, abduction movements that need to happen in order to stabilize your hip girdle so you can actually get the flexion stretch happening when you flex your thigh, get that hamstring to really stretch all the way deep down into your glute and your glute max and all that stuff. And then that won't have to be something that you deal with in terms of the organ. You should be able to identify more sensation in this muscle group, and as that becomes more flexible, then the organ gets to calm down. I mean, I tell people, oh, if you're going to stretch one thing, stretch the hamstrings, but really getting your pelvic floor more stable before you stretch your hamstrings is really key. And so a lot of those types of movements would be like a simple way to do it would be like you're laying on your side and then you just lift your knee and then you push your knee down to the ground. You lift your knee, push your knee down to the ground. And so then that's going to target all your IT band on the outside of your thigh. And then you do the same thing for the inside. You squeeze both knees together and then bring your knees out to the side. So on my website, I think there's a pelvic tilt sequence that I created. So if you look at the pelvic tilt sequence or pelvic floor, I don't remember what I called it, you should be able to try some of those exercises and see if that helps you with your pelvic floor. And then from there, you would know that it feels better because your sacrum would feel like it can move a little bit more. You would also feel a little less flexed in your pelvis, a little bit more extended in your pelvis. You might feel a little bit more rotation in your femur and your hip joint. And then from there, you would want to start working on hamstring stretches to affect your bladder more directly. And I think everyone could use both that and like the low back pain sequence that would also help the bladder. So it's the same muscle groups associated with low back that would help with that. And then you'd have to figure out which of those exercises work for you, and if they don't, find a variation that does, and then create your own sequence, and then just start doing that on a more regular basis, and you should start to see results.
Thank you. And also, there's a really important question. So on your website, does it have your next workshop?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm very much looking forward to that. I've in the past have done multiple certification trainings throughout the year, and those aren't just for people who want to learn how to do it for a living, but just a way for people to learn how to do it for themselves. And I'm very excited about doing that. I don't have anything planned whatsoever at this point. I'm focused on creating a dome for me to stretch in and also filming new material to reach more people. And then from there, traveling, doing workshops in different places, and doing more private sessions as well. Looking forward to all of that happening. So I don't have any dates, but if you sign up for my newsletter on my website, I'll definitely announce it on there once that happens.
Kathy's out in South Florida, Luther, so we're going to South Beach.
I was just talking to my friend who is in Florida right now, and I was just telling him yesterday. I was like, maybe I should come out there because my parents were also out there. So hey, if you want to help organize a workshop or something, reach out to me and we can figure that out. We can do something like that.